They said a woman with a body like that belonged in magazines, not behind a rifle, until her finger on the trigger proved deadlier than any man they'd ever trained. Welcome to Still Human. Before we begin this powerful story of breaking barriers, shattering stereotypes, and proving that deadly precision comes in all forms, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from today? And if you believe that skill has no gender, hit that subscribe button and help us celebrate those who prove the doubters wrong. The morning air was thin and cold at 7,200 feet above sea level. Fort McKenna's Advanced Sniper School sat perched in the Colorado Rockies like an eagle's nest, surrounded by peaks that could hide a target or conceal a threat from impossible distances. It was here that the military's most elite marksmen came to push the boundaries of what was humanly possible with a rifle. Sergeant Emma Reynolds stepped out of the transport vehicle, her blonde hair catching the mountain sunlight, despite being pulled back in regulation style.
At 28, she carried herself with the confidence of someone who had never met a challenge she couldn't conquer. Her uniform fit perfectly over an athletic frame that somehow managed to be both regulation and undeniably feminine. The reaction was immediate and predictable. 32 male snipers, each one hand-picked from their respective units, each one convinced they were among the best marksmen in the world, stopped what they were doing and stared. Not with professional curiosity, but with the kind of looks usually reserved for women walking past construction sites. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez, a barrel-chested man from Texas with arms like tree trunks, nudged his buddy. "Well, I'll be damned. Looks like someone took a wrong turn on the way to a photo shoot." Corporal Mitchell, a cocky kid from New York who'd never met a joke he didn't think was hilarious, grinned widely. "Maybe she's here to boost morale. God knows we could use some eye candy in these mountains." Emma heard every word. She always did. She'd been hearing variations of the same comments since she'd first picked up a rifle in basic training. The assumptions, the jokes, the barely concealed belief that women belonged anywhere but behind a weapon designed to kill. She'd learned to use their underestimation as armor, letting them think what they wanted while she proved them wrong, one shot at a time. Master Sergeant Kane, the school's lead instructor, emerged from the main building with a clipboard and the kind of scowl that could strip paint. At 55, Kane had seen everything the military had to offer, from desert warfare to urban combat, and his face showed every hard-earned lesson. "Listen up, ladies," he barked, his voice carrying across the training ground. "Welcome to Advanced Sniper School. Half of you think you're here because you're hot shit. The other half know you're here because someone made a mistake. By the end of this week, we'll know which half was right." His eyes found Emma in the group. "Reynolds," he called out, "front and center." Emma stepped forward, her movements crisp and military despite the barely concealed smirks from the men around her. Kane looked her up and down with the clinical assessment of someone evaluating equipment. "Says here you qualified expert marksman at Benning, top of your class in basic sniper training, recommended for advanced school by 3 different commanding officers." Kane's voice carried no emotion, just facts. "That all accurate?" "Yes, Master Sergeant." "You understand what you're walking into here, Reynolds. This isn't basic training. This isn't some feel-good diversity program. This is where we separate the snipers from the wannabes." Emma's response was delivered with the kind of confidence that made several men shift uncomfortably. "I understand perfectly, Master Sergeant. I'm here to learn, not to make friends." Kane almost smiled. Almost. Good. Because friendship won't help you when you're trying to make a shot that could save or cost American lives. The first 3 days were designed to break spirits and expose weaknesses. The candidates endured sleep deprivation, carried 100-pound packs through mountain terrain that would challenge professional climbers, and shot at targets under conditions that seemed designed to make accuracy impossible. Emma not only kept up, she excelled. While the men around her struggled with altitude sickness and exhaustion, she moved through the exercises with a grace that seemed effortless. Her shooting scores were consistently in the top 5, and her tactical knowledge impressed even the most skeptical instructors. But the comments never stopped. "She's probably used to being on her knees anyway," Private Jackson whispered during a break, thinking he was being clever. "I bet she looks even better in civilian clothes," Corporal Torres added, with a smirk that made Emma's jaw clench. What they didn't know was that Emma had been dealing with this garbage since she was 18. She'd grown up in a military family where excellence was expected, not negotiated. Her father, a retired Marine colonel, had taught her to shoot before she could properly ride a bicycle. Her mother, a former Army nurse, had taught her that being underestimated was a tactical advantage if you knew how to use it. By day 4, the class had been whittled down from 32 to 18. The mountain had claimed the weak, the unprepared, and the overconfident. Those who remained were genuinely elite, each one capable of making shots that most people would consider impossible. That's when Master Sergeant Kane announced the final test. "Tomorrow morning, we climb to Eagle's Peak," Kane announced to the assembled snipers. "Elevation 9,800 feet. From there, you'll attempt a shot that has never been successfully completed in the history of this school." The group exchanged glances. They'd all heard rumors about the Eagle's Peak Challenge, whispered stories about a target so distant and difficult that it had become legendary among snipers. The target is a standard silhouette, placed at exactly 3,247 meters downrange. For those of you who failed math, that's just over 2 miles. The shot will be taken in mountain wind conditions, with temperature variations and atmospheric pressure that will test every skill you think you've mastered. Kane paused, letting the magnitude of the challenge sink in. In 15 years of running this school, exactly 7 people have successfully completed this shot. All of them are now serving in classified positions that I can't discuss. The record holder managed it on his 4th attempt. Rodriguez whistled low. "Jesus, Sergeant, 2 miles?" 2 miles, 1 shot, 1 opportunity, Kane confirmed. "Miss, and you graduate as advanced qualified but not elite. Hit the target and you join a very exclusive club." That night, as the remaining candidates cleaned their rifles and studied ballistic charts, the conversation inevitably turned to speculation about who might actually make the shot. Emma wasn't mentioned in any of their discussions. "My money's on Rodriguez," Mitchell said, carefully cleaning his rifle's barrel. "Guy's got the steadiest hands I've ever seen." "Torres has the best wind-reading skills," Jackson added. "If anyone can calculate the drift over that distance, it's him." "What about Reynolds?" asked Corporal Davis, the youngest member of the group. The suggestion was met with immediate dismissal. "Come on, man," Rodriguez laughed. "She's good, I'll give her that. But this is different. This is pressure shooting at a level that separates the men from the boys." "No offense," Mitchell added, "but there's a reason they don't have women in combat sniper roles. When it comes to the really long shots, you need more than just technique. You need the mental toughness to pull the trigger when lives are on the line." Emma, lying in her bunk 30 feet away, heard every word. She'd positioned herself within earshot deliberately, using their casual sexism as motivation. She'd been doing it for years, converting their doubt into fuel for her determination. What they didn't know was that she'd already calculated the shot. While they debated and speculated, Emma had spent 3 hours working through the ballistics. She'd studied weather patterns, analyzed elevation changes, and factored in variables that most of them hadn't even considered. In her mind, the shot was already made. The climb to Eagle's Peak began at 0500 hours. The route was brutal, a combination of hiking trail and rock climbing that left even the most physically fit candidates breathing hard in the thin mountain air. They carried their rifles, ammunition, and spotting equipment in addition to standard gear, adding 60 pounds to an already challenging ascent. Emma reached the shooting position first. She'd paced herself perfectly, conserving energy while maintaining a speed that impressed even Kane. When the others finally reached the peak, sweating and struggling with the altitude, Emma was already setting up her shooting position. The target, visible through high-powered scopes, looked impossibly small at over 2 miles distance. It was a standard military silhouette, man-sized, positioned on a ridge that offered no margin for error. Miss by even a few inches and the bullet would disappear into the Colorado wilderness. Kane called the first shooter. "Rodriguez, you're up." The big Texan settled into position, his movements deliberate and professional. He spent 15 minutes calculating wind speed and direction, adjusting his scope and preparing for the shot. When he finally squeezed the trigger, the sound echoed through the mountains, like thunder. Through the spotting scope, Kane observed the impact, miss high and right by approximately 8 feet. Rodriguez accepted the failure with military stoicism, but the disappointment was visible on his face. One by one, the other snipers took their shots. Mitchell, miss, low and left. Torres, miss, high and wide right. Jackson, Mississippi, short by 50 meters. Each failure added to the pressure. These were elite marksmen, some of the best shooters in the military, and the mountain was defeating them one by one. Finally, Kane called the name everyone had been waiting for. "Reynolds, you were up." The reaction from the group was subtle but unmistakable. Some shifted position to get a better view. Others exchanged glances that said more than words. They wanted to see if the woman who'd surprised them all week could handle the ultimate test. Emma approached the shooting position with the same calm confidence she'd shown since arriving. She settled into her stance, her body language radiating the kind of focus that experienced snipers recognized immediately. What happened next surprised everyone. Instead of spending long minutes calculating and adjusting like the others, Emma made quick, precise adjustments to her scope. She checked wind direction once, noted the temperature, and settled behind her rifle with an efficiency that seemed almost casual. "Reynolds," Kane said quietly, "this is a shot that's defeated some of the best marksmen I've ever trained. Take your time." Emma's response was delivered without moving her eye from the scope. "Time isn't the issue, Master Sergeant. The shot is." The mountain went silent. Even the wind seemed to pause as Emma controlled her breathing, her finger resting lightly on the trigger. The other snipers watched through their own scopes, some hoping she'd fail, others genuinely curious to see if she could do what they couldn't. Emma exhaled slowly, her crosshairs settling on the distant target. At this range, everything mattered. Heartbeat, breathing, the microscopic tremor of muscle movement. The bullet would take over 4 seconds to reach the target, time enough for wind, gravity, and a dozen other variables to turn a perfect shot into a complete miss. She squeezed the trigger. The rifle fired with a sharp crack that echoed off the mountain peaks. For 4.5 seconds, 18 elite snipers held their breath, watching through scopes as a bullet traveled over 2 miles through thin mountain air. Kane, watching through the primary spotting scope, saw the impact first. His voice, when he spoke, carried a note of something that might have been disbelief. "Hit. Center mass. Target down." The silence that followed was deafening. Rodriguez was the first to lower his scope, his face showing the kind of expression usually reserved for witnessing miracles. No fucking way, he whispered. Did she really just... Mitchell started, then stopped, apparently unable to finish the sentence. Torres, who had been the most vocal about women not belonging in sniper roles, stared at Emma with something approaching awe. How the hell did you make that shot? Emma stood up slowly, her demeanor unchanged. Physics, she said simply, and practice. Kane, who had maintained professional composure through 15 years of training elite snipers, looked at Emma with something that might have been respect. Reynolds, in 15 years of running this program, that was the cleanest first attempt completion I've ever witnessed. Thank you, Master Sergeant. Don't thank me yet, Kane continued. Do you understand what you just did? Emma met his gaze directly. I made a shot that 7 other people have made before me. Kane's response revealed the full magnitude of her achievement. You made a shot that 7 other people have made over multiple attempts, with extensive preparation time and under less challenging conditions. You did it in under 2 minutes on your first try, in wind conditions that would challenge a computer. The implications of his words settled over the group like morning fog. They'd just witnessed something extraordinary, and they all knew it. Rodriguez was the first to speak. Reynolds, I owe you an apology. Hell, we all do. No apology necessary, Emma replied. You judged based on what you'd experienced before. Now you know better. But Torres wasn't quite ready to let it go. Okay, I'll admit it. That was an incredible shot. But how do we know it wasn't just luck? One shot doesn't make you elite. Emma turned to Kane. Master Sergeant, is there another target available? Kane raised an eyebrow. You want to shoot again? If Corporal Torres has questions about consistency, I'm happy to address them. What followed was unprecedented in the history of the Advanced Sniper School. Kane arranged for 3 additional targets to be placed at varying distances and positions. Emma proceeded to hit all 3, each shot as clean and precise as the first. By the time she finished, the transformation in the group was complete. The men who had arrived at the shooting position questioning whether women belonged in elite military roles left with a fundamentally different understanding of what was possible. They'd witnessed a level of shooting that redefined their concept of excellence. On the hike back down the mountain, Rodriguez fell into step beside Emma. Can I ask you something? Sure. How long have you been shooting? Since I was 7, Emma replied. My father believed that accuracy was a matter of discipline, not strength. And the calculations? The way you set up so quickly. Emma's answer revealed the depth of her preparation. I've been studying the ballistics for this shot since I was selected for the school. While you guys were debating whether I belonged here, I was memorizing wind patterns, elevation tables, and atmospheric pressure variations for this specific location. Mitchell, overhearing the conversation, shook his head in amazement. So while we were underestimating you,